Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us here at Relic as we kick off another of our recap streams. I'm Grant, one of the community managers here at Relic Entertainment, and I'm joined with my fellow community manager, Eliot. Do you want to say hi?
Hello. Yeah, hello. As Grant said, I'm one of the three community managers we have here for Age of Empires 4. Annie's hanging out in the chat, so uh, yeah, that's and we had a very special week this week, right, Grant?
We
It's
did. It's been an
Gamescom.
exciting week. Before we hop into that, so to everyone here, we have two special guests joining us as well. We are joined by Quinn and Adam, who I will let both introduce themselves and what they do. Quinn, if you want to get started.
Oh, sure. I'm fixing my collar. Yeah, Quinn Duffy. I'm a game director on Age of Empires 4. And super excited. I love the way I'm a special guest and not just another employee of Relic Entertainment.
You are a special guest. It's not every day we have you on here with us, right?
Stream.
Yeah.
We would love to have you every day,
Yeah,
but
I mean, if you want to join us for every stream, Quinn, if that's what you're saying.
you can be a regular guest. We can make that happen.
Regular guest, like
Yeah,
we'll make that happen.
You guys just don't ask very often.
Oh, that's great, because then when I want to talk to Quinn, I'm going to have to come on to the stream and be
Yeah.
like, Quinn, will you get into the meeting?
All of our meetings are now just on stream. So that's a good segue.
Wow.
Adam, I think most people probably know who you are, but I'll let you give a bit of a spiel as well there.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Adam Isgreen. I'm the studio creative director at World's Edge, overseeing Age of Empires.
Awesome. So yeah, as Eliot was saying, it's been a very, very exciting week for us with Gamescom going on. So we definitely showed off some stuff. So this stream today, we kind of want to do similar to what we've done. We actually had the fan preview event back in May, as well as the Xbox Bethesda game showcase. So after both of those, when we did reveal the content we had of those, we did a kind of recap stream, whether you may have missed what had gone on during those events, or if you just want to come hang out with us as we're talking, toss some words in chat, kind of cheer on the team, say whatever you want to us. We're here. Be nice, please. I mean, we can't say that we can't control you, but this is basically a kind of somewhat casual discussion going on here as we show off and talk about some of the content. Eliot looks terrified.
You had to throw out the be nice thing. I mean, like,
Yeah,
asking for it.
So yeah, obviously we had our closed beta recently as well. That wound down. Huge thank you to all of the beta testers who did help us out with that. All of the Age insiders as well. Good time to remind everyone, if you're interested in finding out more about the game, keeping up to date, the Age Insider program is one of the best ways to do that. You can go to the website, ageofempires.com, and sign up there. That'll make sure you get up-to-date news on pretty much anything Age related. And yeah, as we kind of said, we had a very, very exciting week with Gamescom. So we actually did have a number of exciting things come out at Gamescom there. Probably the most important is during the opening night live, we actually had a brand new trailer come out. So if everyone's ready, I think we can just hop right in and show that off, and we can have a little bit of discussion afterwards. I'm just going to make sure we have this ready to go. All right. So it is, give me 1 second. Got to make sure I got the right one here. All right. This should be good. Here we go, everyone. We'll be right back.
The pages of history are filled with moments that determine an empire's fate. Every decision can be the difference between rising to power or being lost to history. How will you grow a small fort into a mighty empire? Every empire, no matter how large, came from humble beginnings. Some invested in advancing technology to create the most powerful armies. How will you use your resources to rise above the rest?
Ich will zum Auge reden. Vernichtet unsere bösen Feinde!
All right, so that was the trailer we had showed off at the opening night live. So that kind of it gives you a lot more of a look at what's coming with the game. We showed off another of the campaigns there. So in the past, we had seen the Norman campaign and the 100 Years' War be revealed at our past events, and this one now shows off the Rise of Moscow. Also gives you a look at kind of some of our in-game cinematic footage we have, showing the ink is light is what we call it, as kind of over these real world locations, which just looks so satisfying. I love seeing that. It feels kind of just like a documentary there. Big focus for the Rise of Moscow is you're obviously working on building and expanding the Moscow Empire, starting out on the Moskva River. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I am sure we are going to pronounce things wrong on the stream. Please forgive us. So you're working to basically establish a New World superpower at that point, and you battle against the Mongol invasion as they come, and you basically, the whole point is just trying to see the Rise of Moscow. And we also showed off 2 of our additional launch civs there. They were the 2 final of the 8, the Holy Roman Empire and the Rus. So
Yes.
I see some excitement here. So yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna let Quinn start. Quinn's
All
always
right.
great to lead
Yeah,
off.
well, I mean, I think the Rise of Moscow campaign is out of all of them is probably my favorite, just because of the. Let's not get it wrong. They're all a lot of fun. But I really like the
theme all the other
behind...
campaigns, man.
I know. Yeah, and the designers that worked on them.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
yeah. No, they're all a lot of fun, but I really love the theme of the Moscow campaign, because Moscow becomes almost it's the defining character through the campaign, as it got beat up, but I think I used the term, it's like the John Wick of national capitals. It gets beat up and comes back, and beat up and comes back, and you're taking it through its rise from basically an obscure fort on the river to a superpower. And so that's a really powerful theme, and because it's right between East and West, and you've got the Mongols on the east, and you've got a lot of the great European powers on the west, or vice versa. No, that's right. And so there's some really interesting dynamics to play against, and that kind of factored a lot into the design of the civilization, because they do blend east and west. You've got mobile units and horse archers and things like the Mongols, but then they can build artillery and castles and things like that, like the West. And that was kind of something that was really unique about the Rus and the Grand Duchy of Moscow and that whole area in history. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really neat civ, and the campaign, I think, is really captures that feel.
It's funny. In some ways, I draw a parallel to that wonderful, famous skit from Monty Python, The Holy Grail, with the guy like, the first castle sank into the swamp. Except instead of doing it with in terms of the Rise of Moscow, it's more like the first city was invaded by the Mongols. Then the second city was invaded by the Mongols. It's just this wonderful. The thing I love is it really does show a lot of the character in how really hardy people that would not give up, that would just kept rebuilding and kept making it better until they were able to fight off all the invaders and kind of establish themselves. And I love that about it too. I think that's one of the great things, is because the theme is so strong through that entire campaign of what you're doing, and kind of revisiting Moscow, right? Like again and again, and you're like, oh, I gotta make it better. I gotta do this. It's so fun.
Yeah, definitely. And again, all the campaigns are great. Quinn obviously very clearly has a preference here. Came on there. That's
a slight preference.
Just a slight preference. We won't tell the rest of the team. Don't worry.
Okay.
They're probably all watching, but that's okay.
They're probably all watching. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the Rise of Moscow campaign there, but there's also the Holy Roman Empire as a civ, which spans 936 to 1517 CE, and they're centered in a region that comprises what's considered modern Germany, and claiming to be the rightful successor to the ancient Roman Empire. There's a lot more information. We're not going to dive deep into all of it on stream, but if you go to the Age of Empires webpage, we actually do have pages for each of the civs, the initial 6, and now these 2 additional ones that were announced at Gamescom, so you can go and read a little bit more on all of the civs, seeing how they play, what makes them unique, and the different kinds of units. So for an example, with the Holy Roman Empire, their prelate unit is a unique to the Civ religious unit, and it increases the villagers' gather rate and helps them ramp up their economy a lot quicker than some of the other Civs.
Yeah, the prelates were. I remember when we first put them in, they were so OP. Like the Roos could run away with the game in what was it, a couple of minutes, Quinn? I mean, it was ridiculous how fast, because you could just buff everything about your economy and about everyone building everything, and it just no one could catch you. So that, yeah, it's been fun, like tuning all of the different distinct unique units and the unique play styles that each Civ has to make sure that there's opportunities for them to take advantage of that, but also not like completely run away with the game.
Yeah, that's these kinds of like the beta we just ran gives us an opportunity to look at balance. I mean, a snapshot of balance as it existed in the past, but that's great information for us. And we've been getting a lot of feedback around that. We've been getting a lot of feedback around the Gamescom presentations and things. So all that feedback, critical or good, is always constructive, always useful. We are looking at it all, and the big job for us, I think, in the next little while is like trying to parse out details and actionable things, and then just figure out a plan to deliver on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. I think that the big thing that we walked away from is a great list of things that, we had our list of things that we knew that people would really care about, especially going into the beta, but coming out of it too. Yeah, it's like, okay, some of these have already been addressed. I think that's the great thing, is that because the beta, is a frozen moment in time, we don't stop. I think some people think that we stop when we make a beta and then we wait and we don't do anything. We kept building the game and we kept adding things. So that build is, at this point, it's several months old. And so there's a lot that's changed in the game, balance and new UI features and all kinds of fun things that have come online since. So I'm really excited about letting people, see more of what's changed, especially the people that got to play the beta coming up towards launch, and all the like fun things that we've added, and that list of things that we still need to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the nice things too with the beta is we get a lot of feedback from there, and it is super helpful to see that feedback from players once they actually get their hands on the game. I know everyone's been super excited, so seeing that feedback. But for us day to day, like when we at the studio, when we play this game, we see the changes, how much can change in a short time. So what people saw at the beta is definitely, it is kind of that snapshot a little bit of in the past there. The game has come quite a ways from there, and it will continue to go towards launch as we get there. So that was the first of the two civs there. There's also the Rus, and they span 882 to 1552 CE, and they are, and I think we covered this a little bit before, but they are basically built for survival. They are masters of hunting, trade, and all of that. Wooden construction is kind of their specialty, and they rebuild and rebuild and rebuild.
We do.
Yeah.
Go for it, Quinn.
Go for it.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I sort of touched on it. They are. They got some unique openings as we tried to put in all of the civs. Try to open up as many early game and early age options for players as possible, so that we've got more choices in the ages. And the Rus are very interesting because they do. If they kind of get more wood done more with wood by noon than other civs can get done all day kind of vibe. They rely on forests in some cases to generate gold, and they spread out. They're encouraged to kind of spread out. They get extra bonuses from hunting. So they are really a kind of a spread out and grab stuff, take a lot of geographic space in their opening, but there's a lot of fun things to do with the Rus. They got really strong wooden palisades and these strong wooden keeps that you can place around the map and kind of try and cordon off areas for expansion and stuff. So this they're a lot of fun. And then you've got those options. You can be hard hitting. You can go maybe kind of more of the European route with heavy weapons and heavy knights and heavy infantry and use the warrior monks to inspire your troops in combat, or you can be a bit more hit and run and use the horse archers and units like that to kind of play a little more fluidly. And in late game, they've got the kind of the Streltsy, and we saw those guys in the video, and they were sort of one of the first approaches to a kind of a standing army. These were, more uniform in terms of equipment and trade, and they had early firearms, and they had these wicked Bardiche axes, and so they could use the axe as a firing rest, and then defend themselves after they had fired with these things they're just vicious. They look like something out of a fantasy movie, but they're they're quite real. And so there's that kind of unit where we're just touching the kind of the modern age, and they look spectacular in their ranks with all the guns going off, and it's a really fun civ to play.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I think that.
Oh, sorry, go for it, Adam. I will let you.
I was just going to say, like, I think the thing I like about them too is the Rus have a certain flexibility to them, right? Even in, like, their naval choices, where they have some options that they can perform to change the situation, or to change on the fly what they need out of their boats in a way that other civs can't. And I love that about them. Like you said, Quinn, they have a lot of mix of different units and different opportunities that they can play heavy, or kind of fall back and go territory grab. And I love that flexibility about them.
Yeah, so those are the two civs we did reveal at Gamescom. And obviously, if you want to find out more, we actually did publish some deep dives into each of the civs as part of the Civilization drop-down menu on the Age of Empires 4 section. So head over to ageofempires.com to get more information. But Quinn and Adam, I just want to quickly bring it back to the campaign. We did announce that we had a varying degrees of difficulty. And one of the new ones is essentially a story difficulty. I want to see if you guys can dive a little more into that. Let chat know, and also just people know kind of why we decided to go that way, and also, like, what's the whole process behind it.
Yeah, so one of the things we really want is, we recognize that there are so many different kinds of players that play Age, right? They're competitive multiplayers. There are people that just play skirmish. There are people that love the campaigns. But what we wanted to make sure is that, campaigns can get hard. And, Quinn and I have made RTS games for years and years. And the norm was always a lot of, like, missions could be kind of brutal, even on lower difficulty settings. And so what we've added is there's a new mode, and it's completely with all the other difficulties that you've come to expect in an Age of Empires game, called Story Mode. And Story Mode, literally, we've removed almost all of the fail conditions from playing the campaigns. So you can play every mission as slow as you want, as long as you want, until you've built up enough to go and beat the missions. Some missions vary because of the scenarios that they represent. But what we've tried to do is make it that there's a really enjoyable, like, no pressure way to play Age of Empires if you really just want to experience the campaigns. Yeah, Quinn, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you captured it. It's that I think in the past, I think we can all claim to have built some pretty sadistic content, or it's
I have made some cruel missions in the past. Yeah, I really have.
There was a it wasn't particularly inclusive in some ways, in that, look, if you can't do this, then learn to play, right? That was the approach in a lot of ways. I'm exaggerating, but the idea is, like, hey, we've done some really neat content, and let's let players of all skill and capability get through and play, and enjoy the kind of the narrative, our approach to history, the mission mechanics. Like, just let them enjoy it. It's their dime, and some people, we're kind of withholding content from them for skill or otherwise. So let them have fun. That's what it is. We've got a really, really broad community, and a lot of players play it differently. We've got, this is a generational game now. Adam's mentioned that in the past, that people who played the first one, their kids are playing the game now, and let's let them enjoy it at their pace.
Yeah.
Definitely, and I think that comes down to this: is you play in the way you want to play. Not everyone wants that crazy hardcore where you have to, like, go up and get super frustrated, like, I can't be this, and you want to get better and better. Some people do like that story, and because we are trying to tell history in this way as a story through this kind of, like, documentary style, having that option, I think, there's no downside to it. It's how you want to play. So if someone does want to go through casually, they can definitely play that way, enjoy the game just as much as someone else who wants to go the full like hardcore hardest difficulty. Because I've played some of the missions on the hardest difficulty before, and I've been like, I cannot do this. This is coming at me like this is just.
I
You
think
have
Quinn's
those
been doing
moments.
that. Like
There's
Quinn's
one
been doing
mission,
that, right?
yeah. I've
You've
played
been
through
you've been running through all the
campaign.
missions, yeah, on
I
hard.
have. I've played through multiple times on hard, on the hardest
There's some-
difficulty. And there's one mission I haven't been able to complete, so I'm waiting for an update to that one, because I think it's actually I'm not bragging about my skill set. I think it is essentially impossible. So that's the one,
Wow, that's
that's the one
Wow.
we gotta figure out. So
As someone who does actually enjoy playing everything on the hardest difficulty, whether it's through Age of Empires or Star Wars Fallen Orders, like I'm just someone who loves that. But I was so excited that we finally talked about the merciless AI idea that you guys had floated out. Like it's something
Oh,
that I
yeah.
know I'm definitely going to try throwing my weight behind it and fighting it early, so I could say I beat the merciless AI because I know later on
before it learned
but
to destroy
happen.
everybody.
I
Yeah,
wanna
I mean
see if you
that's
guys want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a really long-term goal. I think that's the one thing that we have to make really clear is we've been partnering and having a lot of talk. There's a whole group in Microsoft called MSR that's all Microsoft research, and it's a bunch of people that are very, very smart thinking about future applications of AI, and we've been partnering with them to discuss ways in which we can bring even more learning AI. We use AI to train in Age of Empires 4, and it's been really fun because the AI has revealed some things. I think I mentioned this in one of the other chats. Quinn and I have been doing interviews this week, and there was a moment where a Civ would age up into age 3, and suddenly all the pikemen would bail. They'd just run. They'd like, woo! They'd just leave the battle. So we're like, what is going on? It turned out the AI found this before before Test even got our hands on the new build, is that a value had gotten broken, and the AI had been running simulations, like all for the minute the build finished, it just starts running them. And it realized that the value for the attack value on these units has gone to 0. And so it just ran them away because the minute it hit age 3, it knew it couldn't win with them and it would just take off. And it was great. So it really helped us expose some crazy tuning like that we had in the game that based on bugs that we found in the system. But the overall goal of a merciless AI is really to allow it to learn more about how to play the game like a player, right? I mean, it's very easy for us to just uncap APM and an AI will pretty much beat anyone just in the efficiency of actions, right? So it's finding that sweet spot that an AI can be hard and make human-like decisions and still be fun and challenging for people to win and lose against, right? Rather than just get overrun. Like I've never found that fun. I know some people do. Some people love the idea of a pure AI that can do everything as fast as it can, but man, that's like, really brutal.
Yeah, because I'm never going to beat a computer. I don't want to feel like I'm being cheated against because something can action quicker, but I want to feel like I'm playing with someone who's just knows the game well enough, like this AI that knows the game better than me by far.
Yes, and that's the ultimate goal, right? I think that we will continue to drive towards, and this is going to take a while. This is not something that's going to show up 2 months after we launch the game. This is long-term thinking, is how do we get to that kind of AI, like an AI difficulty. I love the idea of an AI difficulty that you can opt into playing and you're like, this AI gets better every time someone beats it. And just to the point where you're like, I don't know how to beat this thing anymore. I would love to see that happen. So yeah, big aspirational goal for the series down the road.
And I'd love to see an AI that would entertain and surprise for players who will play hundreds and hundreds of games of sort of skirmish versus the AI. Team up with friends, play the AI. Team up with AI and play against the AI. Like to have that AI be entertaining and surprising game after game after game. Always something different. Always forcing you to react and use your skills, and because it's very easy to get into rote play with computer games, and then you fall into patterns, and then before you realize it, you're kind of like, oh, I keep doing the same thing. To have an AI that is kind of a willing dance partner with you, that's not just going to challenge you, but I think it's going to kind of surprise you. That's I think would be a great goal. And RTS games, we've seen AI beat people at chess. We've seen it beat people at Go. We've seen them beat people at StarCraft. Like AIs RTSs are great for the complexity of problems that an AI needs to solve, and so it's super exciting the a group like MSR being able to look at a game like ours and go, how do we solve some of these problems?
Yeah, it's also definitely after that article Eliot was talking about came out about that. I've seen some of the talk already online, and people are already talking about having merciless AI face merciless AI and see what happens. They're like, I want to see this thing fight against itself. So
like
definitely, like,
matter
I think
and antimatter. And the
Yeah,
world would
exactly.
end.
It's like, will there ever be a victor? Like
the match just never
that's
ends.
yeah. Well, it would be fascinating. I mean, it would be a really fun way to look for. I think even someone mentioned this in the chat. There's a really fun thing there that I think we could do to look for like really crazy imbalance, right? I mean, the goal would be, we have only so many people without doing betas, and once the game launches public, there's so many more people playing the game. But could we have an AI that was playing it constantly that could actually play it like a person to give us feedback, right? Like that would be amazing just to help us get a leg up on such a complicated game, right? Because every civ we add also, and every unique thing that we add to the game is going to change the whole matrix of how the game is played, right?
You get tens of thousands of simulations to maybe predict some of the meta that may emerge. It's a bit of nerd cred, but there's one of my favorite bits of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They have these elevators that can just see a couple minutes into the future, so that they know they arrive at the floor when you arrive. They know when to pick you up, but the world is about to be destroyed, and all the elevators are hiding in the basement. Like that. There's something about getting an AI that could kind of maybe predict some of our challenges before we hit them, just because it can run through simulations and give us data that's close to what we might achieve through thousands of games with people. Like that'd be super cool.
Yeah. All right. So that was talking about some of the campaign and the 2 new civs that came out. So that's the Rise of Moscow, the Holy Roman Empire, and the Rus. And so we actually had another piece of content shown off at Gamescom as well. So I'm just going to let this play. I'm just going to let this go, and then we'll talk about this afterwards. So we will be right back, everyone. Enjoy this trailer.
A counterweight trebuchet was the king of all siege engines. A catapult capable of smashing down castle walls from great distances. At Warwick Castle in England, they've built a replica, one of the largest in the world. Originating in 7th century China, by the 13th century, trebuchets had evolved into devastatingly powerful weapons.
Such a simple design, but so effective.
It has several key features. A pivoted arm with a weight at one end, and a sling to hold the projectile at the other. To prime, the 6-ton weight is raised using tread wheels.
So this is one of the wheels, one of 2 that's attached to an axle, which would lift the counterweight, weighing 6 tons. It's based on muscle power alone. What's essential about launching a projectile as far as possible is making sure that this end of the arm is moving as fast as possible. So once that weight drops, it really sends this point of the arm moving at its highest velocity.
This was done by positioning the pivot close to the counterweight and by launching the projectile from a sling. When released, the sling whips round, vastly increasing the launch speed. Trebuchets were carefully aimed, like modern guns.
In order to weaken the castle walls or even breach them, you had to make sure that the projectiles hit the same spot every single time.
For each projectile to follow the same trajectory, they all had to be the same weight and shape. To achieve this, masons used a gauge.
Now I'm going to load this projectile into the sling. Oh, this one must weigh about 25 kilograms, but some projectiles can get up to 150 kilograms. That's the weight of 2 men.
Trebuchets were also used to throw burning tar, beehives, even dead bodies. Anything to cause maximum distress to the enemy.
Did you hear that whoosh?
It was the counterweight Trebuchet's lethal combination of power and accuracy that made it the ultimate medieval siege weapon.
All right, so that was super cool. This is actually something we call hands-on histories. So for Age 4, as you play through campaigns, you'll unlock a set of these kind of documentary-style videos. So these are in addition to the main campaign videos, which we call Critical Path. These are hands-on history that are they're just these videos you unlock that kind of give you a little bit more of a look into the historical documentary side of it, maybe not Civ specific, but on like some of these technologies or that kind of thing as well there.
Yeah, they were that's been something we've been wanting to do for a long time is how do we be a great history teacher to people? Like how can we also connect past and present? So yeah, there's a ton of these in the game. They're unlocks. You know, as you're playing through the campaign, you'll play through all of the, you know, what you guys call the critical path, you know, the campaign missions themselves, with all the narrative and the story that goes along with each of the civilizations and the campaigns. But these are all extras that do cool dives. I mean, there's everything from, like I said, from, you know, the Trebuchet one we showed to my personal favorite, medieval surgery. There's ones on how do you keep fire arrows from going out. There's ones on illuminated manuscripts, calligraphy. There's all these really cool things that allow people to relate a lot more to history than I think some people would do off the cuff if we just had the campaigns. So yeah, it's been great being able to add these. This is something that we've been really excited about for a long time, is how do we get this into the game in a fun way. And yeah, completely optional. So if people want to watch them, that's awesome. If people don't, that's cool too. But there's a lot of content to dive into that you can if you want to learn a little bit more as you're playing through the game.
For sure.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
as being part of the projects of being able to send people around, this was really a global kind of like globe trekking effort that we made across, you know, with the global partnership across, you know, not just with Line TV, but, you know, we traveled to, like, where can I even say, like Poland, the UK, France, Germany, the United States as well, for a lot of location shooting. Like there was a lot of effort done to get into this, and obviously, you know, we can't wait till people can really dive into it. But, you know, I know, Adam, you said your favorites. Quinn, do you have a favorite from any of the hands-on history that, you know, we can tease a little?
One of my favorites, because I have a crude sense of humor,
the one
I know cut from the game because of it would give us a crude humor rating.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll release it at some point. It'll end up on on Twitter.
We'll get that
YouTube
one out.
We'll get that one.
We'll get that
game.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I enjoyed that. I think. I mean the thing that we sort of wanted to impart with these, and not everybody is interested in history or has access to history, but it's like, you know, here's an introduction to some of the interesting elements that we came across that can portray a lot of the sophistication of the era and of some of the cultures and some of the technology, and you know, it's that era was brighter and more vibrant often than I think pop culture portrays it. You know, it's not Game of Thrones. These people lived in brightly colored castles with brightly colored furniture, and that color was a sign of wealth and status. And, you know, blue paint was from some bug from Afghanistan. It's like, that was expensive. If you had something in painted blue, it was like having a Rolls Royce in your driveway. And so we wanted to kind of get across some of this this sort of subtext and interesting elements of history. Maybe, you know, we might get some people engaged. We've been talking about, like, some of this stuff actually fed back to the game because we had subject matter experts working on some of the technology, and it's like, oh, that was cool. Let's make sure that's in the game, and it actually fed back into certain units or certain tech that ended up in the game. So it had some cool intangible value as well.
Yeah, and there were some things even in some of the videos that I'm like, oh, could we get that in the game? And everyone's like, no, there's no way we're going to get that. I'm like, oh, darn it, man. That would be so crazy. But yeah, it's been really fun to just kind of have that synergy back and forth between all the hands-on histories, the campaigns, and the units and the tech that's in the game. It was a fun discovery going both ways in the design of the entire product.
Yeah, no, it was, and seeing these hands-on history, it's such a cool thing to kind of see. It's not what you normally would expect from this game. You expect to be going through the campaign, and then you get these unlockables that give you like this. They're almost like collectibles in a sense of like these collectible video clips you can just go through and watch, and they're just so satisfying. Like it does feel like a mini history lesson, something you'd expect to see on like a TV channel running teaching about this stuff. And well, a lot of the content matter. Like people know roughly what a trebuchet is. There's tons of people who love trebuchets. Like there's all this stuff, but like knowing and seeing on location, like with this, the world that was I think the world's largest trebuchet that was functioning that they went through. Like seeing this stuff is just such a satisfying, such a cool way to show maybe more than you were expecting from the normal campaign of this.
Well, I think the good thing is too is there's always an issue when you make a game that you're simplifying complexity, right, in ways to make it that it's appealing and fun. See, my dog agrees. And I think the cool thing is seeing something like the trebuchet and being like, oh, those were human-powered hamster wheels essentially that had to pull this thing back and load it. And it's great to see those kind of things, right? Where it suddenly puts it in perspective of scale, like how big these things were. Oh my gosh! Like think about this. Think about building one of these on the battlefield and keeping it safe while you're building it, right? In order to siege a castle or something.
Yeah.
There's so much that went into it, right? That I think that seeing things like this help you put it in perspective to modern day, and that's what we really wanted to deliver with a lot of the hands-on histories and kind of our campaign approach is to show those connections and like the relatability.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Seeing things like that, the scale of it is just something you don't really see in like a picture or anything. Like you need to see someone in this trebuchet like walking, how much force goes into this, how it's all basically your human body powered for this, and it's such a cool thing. I will say we're actually running pretty close to the end of the stream here. I believe we want to probably hop off fairly soon. We've got to get some people back to meetings before the weekend's over, before the weekend starts. I'm sure Adam and Quinn are much in demand, and we don't want to steal them for too long from their teams, or I'll be getting a bunch of messages being like, where are they? Get them over here. So before we wrap things up, I just want to say if anyone has anything else here, if you want to talk about very briefly, otherwise we will just kind of hop into the wind down here after this.
Well, I mean, I think I'd love to grab. I know we said that we might be able to answer some questions from the fans, so I'd love for us to dive into a couple, if we could. If you've got some queued up for us.
I just well, maybe while we're doing that, I just there's a valuable life lesson in that trebuchet video of that guy that had to carve all those trebuchet projectiles and then just have them tossed over the wall. I feel for that guy. It's just like that was his job. Is just like. Goes all my effort over the castle wall.
Seeing the amount of effort that went into that, like I didn't think of that myself, is how much you had to actually carve this to make them all identical. Like there's a lot of work. It's not just let's grab this rock and throw it.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
what I always assumed. Yeah, I always assumed it was pick up a boulder and hurl it, right? But it's like literally ballistics.
Yeah.
In terms of trying to get them perfect. Can you imagine the mason that has to make those? Like, wouldn't you? Strategically, the funny thing is on a combat, you think about it realistically. You're like, wouldn't you want to get that guy out of the picture if you're trying to take out the
like
siege
that's the one. Yeah, exactly. That's the bottleneck there. Like if that person's gone, they're throwing stuff that's not going to be accurate, and that's the big thing is accuracy for those. Like if the size is off, it's not going to fly the same way, not going to hit the same spot.
Yeah, it's just amazing the amount of artistry that went into a ball, right? A stone ball for a trebuchet.
Yeah. All right, so we do have a few questions. We'll go through a few. We don't have that much time, so we're not going to hop through all of them in chat. But someone did ask, with the Chinese and French, we saw a lot of gunpowder, and with the latest trailer, cannons definitely make more of an appearance here as well. So how much of a role does gunpowder play in this game, say compared to Age 2, or just in general? Like how important is gunpowder for this?
Yeah, I think more important. We have, I think there's more gunpowder weapons, mostly because we've shifted the timeline just a little bit. I mean, you talked about some of the date ranges. I think Age 2 was always that, end of the Roman Dark Age, 400 to kind of 1400, and we sort of shifted it up a bit, and we get just into like mid 1550s with a lot of the civs, and you start to see the emergence of more gunpowder weapons. That was kind of a conscious choice to push the power of the kind of that imperial era a little bit, and and get some, a few kind of spectacular effects and gun weapons in there. So that's why you're seeing a few more options, and why each of the civs have a couple different gunpowder weapons at their disposal.
Awesome. And yeah, that question was from Feudal Noodle in chat, so thank you for that one.
Great name. Feudal Noodle.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we had another question asked by Buddha Kix. I don't know if I'm saying it right. But what made you choose the campaigns that we have ended up in the game, which is, the Normans, the 100-Year Wars, the Rise of Moscow, and then I think it's the last one is
Mongol Empire.
The Mongol Empire. Yeah. What made you guys choose those 4 out of the entire breadth of history that we have in Range?
That's a deep question.
It is, yeah. We went through a lot of scenarios and permutations. We initially wanted a goal to have all of the civilizations represented in campaign, and that kind of gave us a bit of a geographic and time breadth for the areas we wanted to cover. We wanted to revisit a couple of classics, just to look at them from a different perspective. That the sort of the 100 Years War, but it's at a different scale than the previous campaign. And then we had something like, we wanted to get the Mongols because they connect east and west. They're connecting the Chinese civ to the European civs, and they're the kind of the connective tissue between all of that. So it's hard to understate their impact on the modern world. So that was sort of part of it. And we like to look at a breadth of geography and other areas, but I don't know. Those are some of our considerations if I think back.
All right. Got one more question from Nathan Ralph asking about if since the beta have any changes been made already. And I mean, we talked a little bit about this, but I'll let both Adam and Quinn, probably the two of you, can go in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to reiterate, one of the things to understand about game development is when we create a build for something like a beta, development continues. So everyone that's not involved with making sure that build for the beta is solid and stable, and people aren't going to have a problem with it's not crashing. We keep working on the game. So new art, new design, new balance, everything keeps happening. So at this point, the beta build is, a couple months old, even with the time of the beta plus the lead time before the beta. So lots of things have changed. The list alone on balance is pretty crazy. Like, there have been a lot of changes, and some fundamental and some not. And of course, you have civs you haven't gotten to play yet, but we've continued to iterate and update the game since the day that the beta started and even before. So I'm really encouraged. There's a lot of things that people brought up in the beta that I think we've already addressed some of them, and there's others that are definitely on our list that we're still going to address. But it's been, I can't even list the amount of changes. Like, I'll give you a small one that I know off the top of my head that I know people were asking about was villagers weren't showing their carry count on them when you select them. You didn't know how much of a resource they were carrying. That's now in the game. Things like that. There's a ton, hundreds of little changes like that have gone on, plus bigger ones as well. But we'll be talking about those more down the road.
I was going to say, there was one that I definitely took advantage of throughout the entire beta, playing as the Chinese, which was the Nest of Bees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
it's
a
great
bees.
siege weapon, but I know the balance team had so obviously internally we have a lot of discussions that go on everything, and one of the things we immediately noticed, because like people are also talking about on the closed beta forums, but same thing is that we already tuned and adjusted it to what I think would be what people would probably be more in line with, or what they expect, right? So it's like those little changes and like things that happen, that it's good to see that what people are feedbacking on is stuff that we've taken action on, right? And we've also taken further action on. And as Adam said, we're going to be definitely sharing more of that down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I even think that build has a bug with the Nest of Bees where once it fired, it would continue to track the target no matter where it moved, rather than firing where it was supposed to be firing, where you set it off. So it's just like, oh, you cannot dodge the death that's coming. Like there's some things
like
that were really, it was basically heat-seeking like fireworks that would just totally trash anything. So there are definitely some things there that we've addressed that weren't in the build that you got to play if you did get to play in the beta. But there's a lot of stuff that's coming in. Again, our goal is to continue to make a game that everybody loves and that everybody can be passionate about. So we're going to continue to work on developing all the things, launch, post-launch, all the plans. So you'll get more of that as we get closer to launch.
For sure. And,
Yeah.
and mentioning that for people as we're getting closer to launch, definitely highly recommend any of you who are interested in finding more about Age joining to become an Age Insider. You can do that on the Age of Empires website there. You can go there. There's a sign up begin. And that's basically, that'll make sure you're kept up to date. You'll get emails of any new information we have as soon as that's available. The link Eliot just tossed in chat there as well for you. So definitely highly, highly recommend becoming an Age Insider. You'll be kept up to date as quickly as possible. The game itself is launching October 28th this year, 2021, and you can pre-order it today, so you can actually just go over and pre-order it on any of your favorite platforms. So we've got Steam, the Windows Store, and it's also on Xbox Game Pass for PC. So you can definitely go over there and pre-order the game, or just be super excited and become an Age Insider to keep up to date on that. There's the regular edition, which is the standard edition of the game, and then the digital deluxe as well. The digital deluxe there contains the Age of Empires soundtrack, unit counter chart, digital compilation from Craig Mullen's artwork, as well as exclusive in-game content, which is Coat of Arms, player profile, and monument. And those are just kind of customization stuff for your profile there. And yeah, so I think that's probably bringing us to the end of this show here. So this was just us wanting to kind of show off some of the stuff from Gamescom that had come out. Just chatting, getting Quinn and Adam on here as our special guests. Again, Quinn, you're welcome to be a regular guest if you would like. We can make that happen. I'm sure people would love to see you more. But to both of you, thank you so much for joining us today. This was absolutely wonderful. Good to kind of go over some of the stuff, talk and see the community, have you all here with us as we're kind of just discussing some of this. Hopefully you got a little bits of information here from Quinn and Adam as they've been talking as well. Yeah, but this was great, and yeah, sign up to be an Age Insider. Again, is the most important thing you can do right now to keep up to date for the game, or hop over and pre-order it from the Steam, Microsoft Store, or Xbox Game Pass for PC as well. Yeah, so that said, sorry, just give me 1 second, everyone. The fun of running a stream and talking and all of this at the same time. But yes.
Thank you, Grant, for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks, Grant, for running the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you, all of you, for being here. This was great to have you. We love having both Quinn and Adam. And I mean, Eliot, you're on this with me all the time, but all of you, it's been great to do the stream with you and to steal a little bit of your time in between development.
Well, I mean,
now know that Quinn's going to join us more frequently because he's offered. So we're going to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and we're what, 2 months out from the launch now? One more day?
Yeah, one more day.
One more day. 2 months and 1 day. Woo.
It's exciting. Like, it's really,
there,
it's an exciting part of the project. There's a lot of things to do, but it's exciting. I think that gives the team a lot of motivation. The feedback has been great. We're really pleased to get that. I mean, it's stuff to work through, and we love to work on these games. It gives us a great set of tasks and opportunities to help out for the community.
Definitely, and that feedback, especially from everyone in the beta, all of our Age Insiders, it's been super helpful. Super thankful for all of that. Like, it's hard to stress how important that is to us. We spent a long time going through all the feedback, collecting it, sharing with the team. Everyone's seen pretty much everything any of our beta testers have said. So it's definitely that feedback. It does really help shape the game.
Yeah, and to be clear, positive or negative feedback is totally fine with us. Like, if it's delivered constructively, and that was the thing that I walked away from all the beta feedback, was everyone was really passionate about making Age 4 great. And we want that too. So, I really appreciate all the time that people have put into really detailed and great feedback, on things they love and things they want to be better. And we're going to strive to do all of it. So.
Exactly. All right.
Yep.
And I think on that note, I think we're good to wind down the stream. Thank you again, Eliot, Quinn, and Adam. Thank you so much. And to everyone with us here, all of the Age fans in chat there in the stream, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone that came.
Everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Great weekend. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.